Okay, so in this week's video, we're going to talk about our automated trading. We're going to look behind the scenes, but we're going to talk about a really hot topic, and that is trading Bitcoin. So without further ado, let's jump into the charts. Right, so okay, we have the Bitcoin futures here on a 30-minute chart. Now, what I need to just explain to you is just what we've got behind the scenes. So let's go through it. Right, what have we got behind the scenes? Well, for a start, we've got a bar numbering study. Top tip, use this when you're debugging. Right, if you unhide it, you can see you've got all the bar numbers. Why is that useful? Well, on every one of our studies and bots, we have a debug option which spits out the information, and you can see there we've got bar index there. So all this information is really, really useful. So on every one of our studies, we also standardize on putting the debugging down at the bottom, so we can just automatically put them on. So obviously that's quite useful. So what have we got running behind the scenes to generate these signals? Well, we've got the Delta bot, which is a data bot. That takes in the order flow. That takes in the every single transaction and categorize it. Are we an aggressive buyer? Are we an aggressive seller? And so on and so forth. And then we summarize that information with the color of the candles, which is using, if we look here, we've got map candle color. So behind the scenes, there's a hell of a lot of data points that we use and calculate, and that's used by the query bots and the summary bots. So this is a summary bot that's mapping the color, and you can see all the colors there, and it takes in the data bot. So we have a standardization that we have data bots generating the information. We've got spreadsheet grids behind the scenes. So if we need to query the information, this is a rotation bot, we can do that. But that's used for fractal rotations. So it's used by the other bots to generate a rotation. Now, let's talk how we trade the Bitcoin. Right? So how do we trade it, and what sort of signals did we get last week? Well, without further ado, let's just move back to Monday. Right, okie doke. Right, so first things first, Bitcoin moves really fast. Right, we can see a big, massive candle WRB. So what we're going to do there is on all the bots, we're going to evaluate the information on a real-time basis. So we have the ability on our bots to evaluate this information. Right, and I'll just show you. So there, evaluate, we have the option of bar close, buy seconds, buy volume steps. Now, obviously we want to make these bots as efficient as possible. So obviously you can see the execution speed. So this pattern finder bot runs in 43 milliseconds. Right, the more evaluations we're doing, obviously the more resource intensive it is. So where we don't need to do that evaluation, like for instance fractal rotation grid runs in 1 millisecond, obviously we want this to run as fast as possible. So we make sure we're doing that. Now I'm going to show you an example why we need real-time evaluation. But let's talk about how we're actually generating a trade and what we're looking for. So we're looking for an aggressive sell down and then a passive buyer. Passive buyer holding price. Right, now what we're doing is we've got two patterns here, so we have actually got a couple of patterns that we're looking for. The first pattern is that's the buy absorption and then any buy going up, right, and then we've got this aggressive sell and passive buying. Right, you can see there we've got the volume threshold, so we want high volume on these, and then we're looking at a WRB down, so we're looking at high selling and the sellers achieving their objective, and then we're looking at price position of 50. So what's price position 50? Well, basically what that means is lower than 50% of the swing, right? So that's what this bad boy is used for, which is high low for time period. I'm just going to unhide that, and you can see there we've got all the highs and lows mapped out. So, and literally that's how we can ascertain as to where we're at within a given price point. Now what that effectively does is it takes out the dodgy signals. We don't want to be buying here, we don't want to be buying here, right, which potentially we would get a signal. So that shows you how it's working. Now you can see at the moment we've only got one line on there, but we've got two pattern finders. Why have I done that? Well, if I show you what we've got the ability to do, is because we trade stuff like the Qs off the NQ and then NQ off the Qs and so on and so forth. Right, so we can actually copy that signal onto the corresponding chart. Now obviously with Bitcoin, what we're going to do here is we're going to look at that one, and I'm going to say, right, draw the vertical line on chart 7, right, which happens to be the BlackRock ETF. So you can see there when we draw this signal on there, for last week as an example, Tuesday we got a really good signal, and Thursday we got a really good signal, right? We saw a little bit of a dip on that, so but what you can actually do then is put a pattern on this and say take it, and if it's got only take it if it's got positive price action. So going back to this, how does real-time evaluation really work for us? Well, let's look at an example where Bitcoin just goes crazy, and if we were to basically do bar close would get us in the signal here, and time again from backtesting I've had this situation where I end up getting in too late. Right, so we develop the real-time evaluation so that we can get in and mark it in and get in quick, and potentially wouldn't want to mark it in if this is going up and down, up and down, and up and down, because you'd end up getting marketed in up here. So in this instance, what we're doing here is on the trade manager, we are using the ALGO. Where are we? Trend line. So we're using the ALGO trend line. Now, if you wanted, you could mark it in, or you could use the VWAP, right? Or as an example, you can use the previous candle. But in this instance, we're going to use the trend line. Now, what we're using for the trend line? Well, we're basically going to take the buy-sell dynamic bar, which is obviously the high-low levels, and we're going to take the anchored VWAP low, right? So if we look at that as an example, we're just going to bring it onto the screen, right? And we're going to unhide this, and then boom, you can see that is the anchored VWAP low. So the anchored VWAP low gets respected when we come down and retest on pullbacks. And you can see there, basically, then we're effectively using that to limit in here, right? So literally, that gets us in a far better price. Now, obviously, what we could do is have a trailing stop on this, right? Which we'll show you the trailing stop bot in a subsequent video. So we've got a number of them. We've got a profit maximizer bot, right? And literally, we've got a bot that reads order flow and adjusts the trailing stop by order flow. You can see there, obviously, we've done 3,500 points. So obviously, that's a really good trade. So if we just look at these signals, that's Friday the 15th. Right, let's have a look. You get that in. We're in there before this massive pop, so that's a really good trade as well. We're in there, which again, that gets us in a decent level, and we get a decent pop. Right, we've got a signal there. That's a decent pop. So first, we're getting a signal pretty much every day. Now, you can see here, we've got a signal here, and this does go against us. So, you know, you don't always get a decent entry. Now, let's just run that as an example to see what actually happens there. Which is 22nd at 8 AM. So we just need to be running it before that. So we're just going to do 0.8. And let's see what actually happens. So this is the ability of the great ability of Sierra charts to backtest. So we're using the replay, and we're using accurate trading system backtest mode, and we're setting it to 30. What I tend to find is if you do set it to higher than 30, potentially you can miss a trade because you were skipping trading data, right? So it's just something to bear in mind. So obviously 30 is fast, right? Now if you just want to just do a basic bar by bar back test, Sierra Charts does have that ability. You go up to there, and then you can do a auto trade bar back test. Now what that actually does is it takes the data that you've got loaded, and if we take that as an example, data limit is set to 30 days. It would then just back test 30 days worth of data. The accuracy of a bar by bar back test is nowhere near as accurate as what we're doing here, but it's all about honing in your strategy, right? So, and literally, it's about testing that and seeing whether or not you need to refine your strategy, so to speak. So obviously, and it's about speed of back testing as well, because at the end of the day, this is really time consuming. We've spent about at least 10,000 hours on back testing this system, and obviously from that point of view, we want to make this as efficient as possible. So bar by bar to start with, and then accurate back testing, right? And when we really want to see really accurate back testing, we do drop this to real time, right? There, as in at the bottom, right? Calculate every tick, and we set it to 5, right? So what we tend to do is do a weekend. Now, another top tip for you on back testing is this, right? Is basically have multiple instances running, right? By doing this new instance, and then use your back testing period, right? And set one to be January as an example, so one to be February and March. And obviously in that instance, as long as you've got a really, really powerful CPU, then you are going to be all right. If you haven't, then your PC will fall over in a big heap, and obviously that top tip will be absolutely useless. So, but that's what we've done with this particular PC. Is a really fast PC, and it's got 24 cores as far as I know. Now, this back test is using just 12% of the CPU, so you can get at least 3 or 4. It's there. It's a Ryzen 7 590X 12 core, right? But it's obviously got effectively 24. So this is it working in backtest mode. So you see how that real-time evaluation entry is quite good. Got quite a good signal now. I do believe that from when we were looking, that did go down. So whether or not it's going to take that 500-point stop out, I don't know, but we'll just see. So whilst that's just backtesting, I'm giving you these top tips on backtesting. So we've talked about the bar by bar, right? We've talked about how to speed backtesting up when you're doing these by doing multiple instances, right? And literally, I've run Sierra charts with 5 instances running, right? So it's quite easy to do that. And I think this is going to get stopped out. So on this instance, so there you go, boom. So you can see that not every single works, but look at how close we were. And obviously this is why we have back testing, right? We actually got a really decent entry there, right? It's just obviously in that instance it got the pattern. It didn't quite get the best entry there, and obviously you can see there we actually got stopped out by, I think it's dollars. So again, you can use the zoom in to see what's going on here. So we're just going to highlight that. Oh, that is painful. That is painful. Right, but you can't curve fit things, so but just make sure that you're working within the ATR levels of what you're doing. Obviously the average true range, we can actually just have a look on these bars, what we've got. Average true range to see. Right. So average true range of a candle at that point is 588. So obviously maybe a little bit more, less than that, 550. So we can get rid of that. So there you go. So I will see you on the next video, and I hope you found that useful, as in the top tips that we've got for backtesting in Sierra charts. And I hope it's giving you ideas, showing you what we've got within our bots. Now, what I would say is this, is if any of you are interested in trading Bitcoin, I'd like to hear from you, because at the end of the day, we have obviously got trading screens for NQ, ES, and QQQs, and DAO, because that's what we trade daily, right? But we all know that at the moment, we've got the Trump effect. Bitcoin's going to the moon. Obviously, it's hit 100,000. People are talking about it hitting even higher, with the talk of the potentially when Trump comes in that they're going to start buying Bitcoin themselves. Obviously, Federal Reserve's got gold. There is a potential that they would buy Bitcoin, like other countries have done. Now, if that happens, literally Bitcoin is going to go up and up and up and up. Now, what we want to do is jump on the bandwagon and effectively trade with the momentum. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing here is basically we've got a higher probability of the trade playing out because naturally the stock is going up. So obviously what we're looking for is these pullback scenarios, which we can see with the with the passive absorption. We use the pattern finder to do that, and we do that literally on everything we trade. We look for passive absorption on the pullbacks, and then obviously we then enter when the time's right, and we get off to the races. So I better get off now because live trading is coming up and I need to get ready for it. All that remains for me to say is have a great trading week and trade safely, and see you next time on the next video. Bye for now.